This is News OSU for Thursday, September 16th. We're glad you're with us. I'm Channing Nesmith. We begin this school year with the same top story that we had for our first broadcast last year, COVID-19. After a downturn in cases during the late spring and most of the summer, a new strain of COVID known as the Delta variant causes cases to spike as schools start in mid-August. According to the Oklahoma State University COVID dashboard, there were 80 active cases of COVID-19 at the start of the academic year. That case number has multiplied by 6 by Labor Day. Since then, numbers have steadily decreased. 247 active cases of COVID-19 were recorded in the most recent update. A reminder that University Health Services is offering the COVID-19 vaccine for free to students, faculty, and staff and their families. You can call 405-744-7665 to schedule an appointment. We are now finding out that those initial vaccine shots might provide sufficient protection without the need of a booster shot. That's according to a brief document released by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. That document states that the benefits from the booster could be more limited if the primary vaccine doses are still effective. Scientists measure how beneficial a booster is by its impact on the virus relative to the main doses. The document focuses on boosters for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. An FDA vaccine advisory committee is scheduled to meet tomorrow to further discuss the data on a 6-month COVID booster. We mentioned earlier a recent decrease in COVID cases that we've seen on this campus. This appears to be part of a national trend. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is forecasting the numbers of COVID-19 hospitalizations will decrease over the next 4 weeks. This marks a first time a decrease has been predicted since June 23rd. The CDC did not make a prediction on whether the new cases would increase or not, but the agency is forecasting the number of deaths will remain stable or show an uncertain trend over the next month. There have been roughly 664,000 COVID deaths in the United States since the pandemic started. CDC officials admit the agency's forecast have not reliably predicted cases, hospitalizations, or deaths in the past. Many places in the state of Oklahoma started to relax mask mandates on other restrictions over the summer due to a downturn in COVID-19 cases and the introduction of the COVID-19 vaccine. The recent spike in cases has led to a patchwork of new guidelines and restrictions. News OSU Devin Schwetman has more on COVID rules, safeties, and outdoor and indoor on campus.
Quarantine killed a lot of social rules, even the ones that probably shouldn't have. Like how to behave here.
OSU student Sadie Culver stated that one of her biggest pet peeves at events is,
as of right now with COVID and such, requiring masks and people just opt not to, but then the leader of the event will not mention or in regards to anything of them not wearing a mask because they're afraid that they will leave.
OSU Athletics follows the protocols of the university itself, which at the moment is that masks are expected but not required. Due to this loophole, most fans go mask-free, knowing they can't be told any different. Outside events are one thing, but indoor events are a step above. The McKnight Center for Performing Arts is handling a barrage of demands that are changing daily.
We are coming back with a full season this year of about 22 performances. Artists like country music star Tim McGraw, violinist Itzhak Perlman, Broadway stars Bernadette Peters, Brian Stokes-Mitchell, and all of these artists have their own guidelines to keep themselves and their touring crew safe.
That being said, there are 3 things you can do to be a good cowboy. 1, follow the rules. 2, be considerate to everyone, including staff. And 3, pick up after yourself. For News OSU, I'm Devin Schwetman.
As Devin mentioned, COVID-19 is impacting the rules and expectations on campus, but it's also impacting the ability for students to broaden their horizons by taking classes outside of the United States. News OSU Ellen Slater has more on COVID-19 and how it's impacting study abroad.
Studying abroad is a very important part of a lot of OSU students' academic experiences, but the fate of the availability continues to be put to test as the protocols are ever changing due to the ongoing pandemic. I sat down with Jeffrey Simpson, who's the director of the Study Abroad and National Student Exchange Office, to learn more about how OSU is handling these tough decisions.
So it just is upon us as an institution to figure out how can we do that as safely as possible and still provide them those learning experiences they want to have.
Simpson said that there are about 10 OSU students abroad at the moment, and they all had to go through a rigorous process to make sure that it was safe for all of the parties involved. Here's L'Oreal Prima, a French instructor that had plans to take our students abroad next summer, and her different perspective of the process.
So I think that there was a lot of disappointment, and that's probably why they're being so cautious this time around and making sure that they don't get those contracts in while things are maybe still, kind of dicey.
Remain flexible in what we do so that we can make changes as we think, is best. All just contingent on what the situation is in those host countries. Things are changing all the time.
There are many OSU students that are enrolled to study abroad spring 2022. Whether they will or not, we'll see.
One of the things that the pandemic has provided OSU is the opportunity to really spend some time thinking about what are our goals for our students, what are the skills that we want students to be having, and how can we meet those needs within the parameters and challenges that we face within a pandemic.
Ellen Slater.
In other news, one controversial online platform is making a comeback. The Yik Yak app is a social media-based chat board for individuals within communities to share their thoughts and opinions anonymously. Yik Yak does provide students with an outlet to speak out, but as I found out, it could also be damaging in the process. Students at OSU and beyond are chatting it up on the new and improved Yik Yak app. Yik Yak originally launched in the end of 2013, but was recently bought out in the beginning of 2021. As the 200 million active users were declining due to hate speech and bullying, the new owners of the app said their main goal is to provide an equal and safe environment for users to connect with others. Yik Yak provides an outlet for students to discuss issues, relate to one another, or even share a fun story about their day.
I think it's funny. I like how everything's anonymous, but at the same time, I think since it is anonymous, it can get too far pretty fast.
Gyro says some of her negative experiences with the app have been about Greek life.
There's been very rude comments about certain sororities that are very hurtful, and it's sad to see.
PR and social media companies have a different view on the app.
I feel like people in the marketing and social media industry are always interested in how to reach the newest generation. Thinking about Yik Yak as a way to reach new audiences and potentially reach Gen Z, I'm excited that there's another option out there.
Dennis says that although allowing individuals to express themselves and speak freely is a good thing, it can also be a bad thing. It is all dependent on how the app is used.
Really the best way to combat negative messaging on any social platform is with more communication.
Yik Yak has made its comeback with the help of new ownership. The popular app allows for students to post on an anonymous chat board and interact with others. Students have the opportunity to discuss issues but could possibly be creating more. When using the app, remember that there is always someone on the other side of the screen, so be kind. For OSU News, I'm Channing Nesmith. Here's a look at events coming up on campus. If you're graduating this fall and want to get an official OSU class ring, head over to the University store at the Student Union this Friday. A sales representative will be on campus to help guide you through the process. Open house will be held at the OSU Botanic Gardens this Saturday from 9 to 3. This is a chance for you to see new additions to the garden. Their model train garden will run from 10 to noon. The event is free to the public. Research on Tap will be held at the Iron Monk Brewery on Monday, September 20th at 5:30 p.m. The title of this session will be Where All of the Insects Have Gone, the Recent Decline of Pests in Wheat. Dr. Christopher Giles, Regents Professor of Entomology and Plant Pathology, will be the featured speaker. Admissions is free.
The Oklahoma Oklahoma State Cowboys sneaked away a 28-23 victory over Tulsa on Saturday. The Cowboys trailed in the fourth quarter 17-14 before L.D. Brown took this kickoff return 98 yards for a touchdown to give the Cowboys a 21-17 lead. The Cowboys struggled offensively, averaging 3.4 yards per rush and gaining only 303 yards as a unit. Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy says his team's run game has to be better.
We rushed for about 3 yards a carry, something like that, which, we need to be at 4.5. So it's not good enough rushing the ball with 43 attempts and only 140 yards. So
Quarterback Spencer Sanders passed for 157 yards on 14 of 25 completions and 1 interception. One bright spot for the Cowboys was freshman wide receiver Jaden Bray, who caught 4 passes for 84 yards and a touchdown. Quarterback Spencer Sanders says he's impressed by Bray.
It's amazing. As everybody's seen, he can make phenomenal plays. He can make phenomenal catches. He's a great receiver, great speed, great route running, great blocking on the outside too, big body. So I'm real confident. I'm happy what he's going to have to bring to this table.
The Cowboys head to Boise, Idaho Saturday at 8 p.m. as 3.5-point underdogs. Boise State is 1-1 on the season. They lost a nail-biter 36-31 against UCF and demolished UTEP last week 54-13. The Cowboys weren't the only Big 12 teams to struggle offensively in Week 2. Iowa State was held to just 17 points in a loss to number 5 ranked Iowa. Cyclone quarterback Brock Purdy threw for 138 yards and 3 interceptions in a 27-17 defeat. SEC-bound Texas had a glimpse into its future Saturday as they were defeated by future SEC foe Arkansas. Arkansas held Texas to 118 yards passing and 256 total yards in their 40-21 victory over Texas. Now let's take a look at what happened in the rest of the Big 12. Kansas lost to Coastal Carolina, and West Virginia had a big win over Long Island. Some other scores were OU winning 76-0 over WCU, and Kansas State barely snuck by Southern Illinois. The Big 12 Conference announced that Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, and Houston will join the Big 12 by 2025. How will this affect Oklahoma State? Here's Mike Gundy's answer.
When you talk about Central Florida, you talk about Cincinnati, and you talk about Houston, or you talk about huge populations and viewership from television. And then with BYU, you have their following with the church that's coast to coast. So essentially, we hit a home run on this league.
It'll be interesting to see how these 4 teams will impact the future of the Big 12.
And that's news for OSU for Thursday, September 16th. I'm Channing Nesmith. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.